Welcome back to the Nacho Kids Podcast.
That's right.
All right, David, I know you don't know what we're going to talk about.
As usual.
Well, I was thinking about it, and I want to talk about the differences from a standpoint of a parent for your bio kid and your step kid. So, for example, when your kids were 14, 15, Mama would fix them breakfast.
Okay.
And I would be like, oh my gosh, they're old enough to fix their own breakfast.
Okay.
Little did I know that when my sweet baby boy turned that age, I'm like, what do you want for breakfast, darling?
Yep.
And we see that in more things than just that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to admit some stuff here. So
Oh,
I know I debated, but I decided to go ahead.
go ahead. I'm going to just revel in this for a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. So when your kids started driving, there were 4 of them
Yep.
on our insurance.
And they all shared one car. Like, you want to get me on the soapbox? Why do I have to pay for 4 policies when they're driving one single car? Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. I was a nervous wreck. I was on edge because if they got a ticket, our insurance was going to go up, right?
Yep.
And it just,
Are you about to tell me Jackson got a ticket?
no.
Okay.
Better knock on wood. Oh, I can't do that because my arm's sitting jiggly. Okay. Better knock on wood. So when Jackson got added to our insurance,
Mhm.
I told him, you get a ticket, you are going to pay for your insurance because I pay for his insurance while he goes to school.
Mm-hmm.
And you made your kids pay for their insurance,
I did.
but they weren't going to college.
Right.
Okay. But the difference in,
Just to be clear, they paid for their insurance while they were in high school as well.
they did, but,
just say
but,
there's already a difference.
yeah, already a difference. But I use Jackson's child support to pay that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll let that slide.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. But it's funny how having Jackson on my insurance or our insurance doesn't cause me a tenth as much stress as having your kids on there.
Okay.
Why is that? Because they're not my kids. It's simple. You know, we can say, okay, well, it's because you had 4 of them. No, it just boils down to because they were not my kids. And I did not want any additional financial burden
Mm-hmm.
because of your kids and poor decisions.
Right.
Right?
But if the financial burden had come from your kid and bad decisions, not that you were okay with it, but you were less stressed about that.
100%. And I would have used a child support to pay the difference.
Gosh.
And, you know, I'm thinking about it. Maybe if the situation was where you got child support
Mm-hmm.
and it was, well, if they get a ticket and our insurance goes up for 3 years to $300, huh?
I say it just comes out of child support.
Right. Instead of
Yeah.
our money, right?
So, yeah. So for the listeners' benefit, I did not receive or pay child support. You did receive child support.
Correct.
And we've talked before about how we dealt with that. Not for this episode, but
Right. Well, simply put, we did not consider that part of our income because who knows when things were going to change, right?
or even if it's going to get paid.
Or if that money was going to go to attorney's fees.
That's right.
Okay. What made me think of this was I saw somebody posted in the Facebook group yesterday.
Okay.
And she has a child that when her child was given a car,
Uh-huh.
okay, the child wanted to sell the car and get something else. And the stepdad flipped out. Okay.
Okay.
No. Raising Cain. Well, now that the stepdad's biological child, this woman's stepdaughter,
Okay.
has a car and she wants to trade it and get something else, Dad's fine with that.
Interesting.
Why is that? Because
we know
her son was not his kid.
Yeah. You are much more critical. Most often. I'm not going to say all the time.
All the time.
There are some that aren't. But
those are angels on earth.
You are most often more critical of your stepkid. And if you really think about it, you're probably more critical over most other kids that aren't your biological kids.
It's natural, right? It's not.
Yeah. It's like you can look at what your best friend's kid's doing and be like, oh my gosh, whatever. And then your kid does it. You're like, well, you start making excuses. You start doing other things with it. It's common. And I guess to your point, it might be natural. But yeah, it happens. And I think one of the challenges for those folks that do not have their own kid and they're in a blended family situation is they don't yet know that. Like they don't have the ability to know how would I act, respond, feel about a biological kid because I don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's, by choice or otherwise, but it does make it a little more difficult.
And I hate it when people are in the Facebook group or whatever, and somebody complains about their stepkid and they're like, well, what if it was your kid? Well, they're not your kid. But if you can think of it that way,
mm-hmm.
then it would help you not be so critical and have that separation, for lack of a better word, and how you feel about these kids.
Yeah.
And again, it's not intentional. It's not like.
Not always.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's not like I was like, oh, David's kids are going to be on our insurance and that's going to stress me out more than with Jackson. I mean, it wasn't a thought process, right? It's just how you naturally feel about your own kids. Another good example is when Jackson would leave something on the counter or his cereal bowl on the table. If David's kids would have done that, it was like somebody slapping me in the head with a frying pan.
These kids ain't gonna never do nothing.
Yeah. And because what that represented to me was they were lazy, they were ungrateful, unappreciative, they were going to live here forever, blah, 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 blah. When my baby boy...
when he does, it's like, he's got so much on his plate.
I remember specifically one time you said something about Jackson leaving his thing on the counter or not putting it in the sink, whatever it was, or not rinsing it out. And I'm like, he must have forgot.
And I probably just looked at you and started laughing.
Yeah, because we understand that these differences aren't intentional. And I love your kids. Most of them. And I love them all differently. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
And it's not that I intentionally go, okay, But I will say, one of your kids I'm closer to.
Yeah.
He can get away with a lot more than the others.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still not my kid. But he and I have a different relationship.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got different relationships with all four of mine.
Right. And that's okay as a bio parent.
Yeah.
But as a step parent, if I say, well, I love one of your kids and I like one and I don't really care for the other and just go through the list. And it's like, you're a horrible person, Lori.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah. People can think that.
I want the best for these kids. That's what it boils down to. But I do have different relationships with them.
Mm-hmm. I do too. I mean, even with your stepson, different relationship altogether. And
with my stepson? That's what you said. Even with your stepson.
With my stepson. Even with your stepsons, I have different relationships.
I don't know if I've got it anymore.
But the difference between my relationship with my kids and my relationship with Jackson, it's not just the biological love bonds and all that. There's a difference because of the way I've handled that through the years.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is I was very careful not to put myself in a position where Jackson might look at me and say, just as an example, I love the fact that you do X, Y, Z for me, but I wish it was my dad doing that. I didn't want him to feel that remorse that, you're here with me all the time and my dad's not, or whatever that might look like.
My dad doesn't have the opportunity to show me these things because I'm here all the time.
Yeah. And it could have even turned into, I don't like you, David. And I'm like, but I'm doing all these things for you. Why don't you like me? When in his little mind, he's thinking, but my dad's supposed to be here doing this with me, not you. I don't know, but I was very careful to not put him in a situation where he had to even deal with those feelings and emotions.
Now, I want to say, recently, the ex-girlfriend brought up, well, she was the girlfriend then, but she brought up then that there were things that Jackson didn't know that she thought all boys knew, right? And a lot of it's, like the working on cars or the whatever have you, right? Well, I mean, Jackson knows that stuff, but he taught himself that.
Right.
But it made me think, well, maybe we did that wrong. Maybe you should have been more involved with doing these quote, quote, fatherly things with Jackson because his dad didn't.
There's a challenge with that. And it's funny you mention that because me and Branson, one of my kids, just had a conversation about that while he was here.
Really?
Yeah. So let me try to do both of these thoughts without missing. So the challenge with that is I don't know what his dad is doing or not doing with him unless I'm asking, and then it could feel like I'm probing and all that. So that's an interesting thing to have to navigate. Had I known he wanted to learn those things, like there were things he wanted to learn and he'd come to me about. And they were typically things that are more technical related because that's my job. I'm technology stuff. Yeah, I'm in technology. So those things he comes to me for. Now I will say he did learn a lot on YouTube, but I feel like I had some part of that because oftentimes when he would come to me, it wasn't that I would necessarily say, here's how to do it. Oftentimes I would say, let me show you how to figure out how to do it. And so I felt like I was teaching him how to learn a skill, not necessarily the skill of working on cars, because I don't know that, but I was teaching
cars, four-wheelers, dirt bikes.
Right. Yeah. But I was teaching him the skill of how do you learn? How do you find information? And I think that is something he learned from me, whether he knows it or not. And he could have picked it up some other way. But when he would come to me, it wasn't about me going, well, just here's how you do it. It was a lot about, let me lead you down that path, but let me also show you where other resources are because I don't know how long I'll be here.
Right.
And if you're just coming to me for everything, you're not learning how to learn. That's a whole nother topic. But I think people oftentimes go through life and many of them never learn how to actually learn a skill.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so there's that. The other thing, so Branson and I were talking and he said, because this came from his girlfriend, I can't believe you don't know how to change a tire. and so Branson was talking about this.
Go ahead, but I got to write this down so I don't forget.
So Branson was talking about this and he said it came up, whatever happened. I guess they had a flat or whatever. And his girlfriend says, I can't believe your dad never taught you how to change a tire. And he said, I do remember my dad saying, every weekend that you guys are here, I'm going to teach you something new, like a life skill, that boys should know, like how to change a tire, and how to change your oil, and
all this air in your tire.
So I said oil, not oil. Anyway, yeah. So all this thing, and he told me, he said, but I remember the first time that you tried to do that, maybe even the first several times, but I remember when you tried to do that, you got such pushback from us. Like, we didn't want to do it. We didn't want to learn how to do it. And you got 4 of us going, no, we'd rather play video games. We'd rather do this. And so we didn't learn it because we had no interest in learning it. And then he said, but I do know this. You definitely taught us a lot of life skills and a lot about money management and business and those types of things. And so although I didn't learn how to change a tire, I learned how to create a budget. I learned how to use my money. I learned about investing. Yes, I don't know how to change a tire, but I can pay somebody to change a tire.
That's so Brent.
Yeah, I know.
That's like they were getting their car worked on. on the way up here. Something happened. And we're on the phone with Branson, and the guy's talking to him, and the guy's like, normally it says it takes 2.5 hours to do this, but, we're hoping we can do it in an hour and a half, just from experience. And Branson goes, but you're still charging me the same.
Right.
And I'm like, Branson, that's not what he's trying to tell you. He's trying to tell you that he's going to try to get you out of there as soon as he can. Branson's like, I'm not worried about time. I'm worried about money. And we just laugh because that is such a 25-year-old mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a 50-year-old mentality.
Well, there's a balance in life. At some point, you could have more money than time. And so you view it differently.
Mm-hmm. Well, talking about the tires thing, that's what made me laugh because Branson did have a flat tire one time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he calls me and asks me how to put air in his tire. And so after I laughed hysterically for like 2 minutes, I sent him a YouTube video because I'm like, how do I explain this to him? I mean, to me, it's very simple, but he didn't know. And then you think these kids have been in the military. Do they not teach them some stuff? Or they're thinking their dad taught them, right? Or that they went through some kind of mechanic thing at school. Or
I didn't teach them how to do that. Some stuff, and I think some stuff in life, you don't get taught. You just learn.
Right. And a lot of that is your desire to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So like my dad actually taught me how to change the tire and change my oil.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know how to do a lot of car stuff because I dated a guy that his dad was a mechanic.
You're whatever you're around, you pick up things.
Mm-hmm. And I remember a friend of mine, when she became a single mom, she called me. She was all upset. Her washing machine wasn't working. And she was getting ready to call a plumber. I'm like, hold on, Nellie, hold on. I went over there. I took the hose off the back, took the screen out, dumped it out, cleaned all the crap out of it, put it back in and hooked it back up. And I said, that'll be $200. And she's like, how did you know that stuff? I said, you learn things when you have to.
Yeah.
Because being a single mom, I had to learn those things because I couldn't afford to call a plumber when something like that happened.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think one of the first couple of times you and I were talking, you asked me what I was doing. And I was like, I'm changing the thermistor on my hot water heater. And you're like, what?
Yeah, the heating element or something on your water heater. Yeah, I was impressed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, look at her in a mini skirt with that screwdriver.
But anyway, I want to say this too. I think it's interesting that of all the kids, Jackson is the only one that is going into cybersecurity. And obviously, that's your business.
Yeah. Avery is my kid that is a technologist. So he
likes to play games.
He does like to play games.
He's technologist, a game player.
Yeah. Well, he does work for IT help desk,
for printers
for a company. Yeah. And he's now currently, dipping his toes into AI. We had a long conversation the other day about next steps for him. And he wanted to go into, coding. And we had a conversation about the,
AI does that now.
That's what we had a conversation about. So we had a conversation about the viability of that as an option for him to go into right now.
But you still have to be able to find where it might be messed up.
Yeah, it's not bad to learn coding at all. It's just, not a topic for this podcast, but how disruptive is AI going to be in certain industries, in certain areas, and where can you insulate yourself from that? And so I told him, you need to be learning AI first. And then you can learn your coding skills along the way. But anyway.
So let me tell you something. Can I interrupt? Or
sure.
Are you done?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
With that.
So many, many moons ago, like when the internet first came out, 1994-ish, I'm guessing. Well, I mean, I don't know when it came out, but that's when I started messing with it.
Right.
I wanted to learn how to create websites. So I learned the old way.
HTML.
I taught myself HTML. And I created this whole website for this company. I was so proud of myself, right? Nobody helped me with this, y'all. Like, I'm talking, when I took college or when I took classes in college about computers, it was Lotus and all that crap, right? DBase, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. Anyway, the other day I was looking at our website and with the podcast, and I was like, that color's not right on the thing that shows where to play the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know how to find it to change it permanently.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in and clicked it and I found the code for the color. So I just swapped it out. And I'm like, good job. If I would have never taught myself HTML, I would have no clue what I was looking at.
Good job.
And that was a long time ago.
Yeah. But with AI now, you literally could have took a screenshot of that and said, where can I change this code? And it would have told you.
Well, it's probably on the pages.
Yeah.
The big page is what I call it. But anyway.
Let's steer this boat back into step family territory.
Okay. So just because they're not your kids, you're going to feel differently about things. It's just natural, right? It's natural.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people that even have adopted kids that they feel differently about these adopted kids than their bio kids. And they adopted these kids. They chose these kids, right?
Right.
But there's still a difference. And it's not a bad thing. It's what God gives us to, like you say, not eat our kids.
Don't eat your young.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we looked at our kids, our own bio kids, with such a critical blinder, that's not the right word, critical lens, there we go, with such a critical lens, they would hate us.
Mm-hmm.
And we would hate them. And I know hate's a big word, but we're just using it.
Well, there's several ways we can go even with this topic, because there's also the fact that the bio kid feels differently about the bio parent as the step parent. So there's some reciprocity there when it comes with feelings. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't love you like I love my own kid. And they're like, I don't love you like I love my own parent. Yeah.
We've talked to your kids about this and Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so funny to me is people get upset when a step parent goes, well, I don't love them like my own. It's like, oh, we're going to burn you at the stake. You're going to hell, all this stuff. But if you ask these kids, which we did, and your kids were like, no, you can't love Jackson the same as you love us. We're yours.
Right.
And Jackson's like, I was a part of you and am a part of you before I was born.
Yeah. So it's like, it's crystal clear for kids, but confusing for adults.
Right. Yep. And I know that your kids love me. Well, some of them. I know that they love me.
They love you differently.
They love me differently than their mom. Okay. And that's okay.
Yeah. And honestly, I would hope so, but.
Yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah.
And I do know that there have been women in my life, and this is kind of something that I feel guilty about, but there have been women in my life that were motherly type figures that I kind of wish they would have been my mom.
Yeah.
Simply because my mom did look at me with that critical lens. For whatever reason, we can, justify it, but.
Yeah, but there's a difference between somebody who's having to be your mom and somebody who gets to be like a mentor.
Right.
Like somebody might look at me and be like, oh, I wish he was my dad. He's so awesome. But if you had to had to deal with me every day and I had to deal with you every day, all day about everything, you're going to see these things you don't like about me. And I'm going to see these things I don't like about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different. That's why grandparents are so great, because you can do all the fun stuff. And then when things aren't fun anymore, you're like, okay, we're done for today. Go on.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I do wonder too, like, with the grandbabies,
mm-hmm.
like sweet baby Layla, y'all, she is precious, precious, precious. And so is Giddy, and so is Sandy. But anyway, but she's the only girl, right? I mean, we got all these boys, and we finally have a girl. But the other day, she said something about her Mimi, and I could have let that hurt my feelings, because that's David's ex.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not a part of that crap.
No.
She doesn't need to know that there's any, I don't even want to say bad feelings, because there's not any really feelings, I guess, but.
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with her world.
Nope. And it doesn't need to, ever. She just needs to think that she's got a bunch of grandparents.
Yeah. And hopefully she never is put in a position where it's like, you can't love somebody, kind of like how the kids were done.
Don't tell her you love her.
Yeah. I'm not holding my breath on that one, but I do hope that, they're not presented with that. They just you got a bunch of different sets of grandparents and they all love you and you can all love them. And there's no rules that you have to love somebody a certain way or whatever.
But also, that being said, when I post about these grandkids, I put step-grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
Because number one, that's what they are. Number two, I don't want people to think my baby's had a baby. It's like, let's clarify, because I don't want my family to go, oh, when did Jackson have kids? So
when he was driving that truck too fast.
Yeah. But the other day you said something to Layla about she's your step-grandma.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could have taken that two ways.
Mm-hmm.
Reality, or I could have let it hurt my feelings.
The reason why I like to separate the two is simply because I think it's important that as new generations come along, they understand that there's a biological difference, but the love can be the same or even greater.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, because, kids are going to be presented with step families. There's no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're going to be in one, but you're not going to escape somebody in your family being a step family.
Yeah.
So they get to see what that looks like and experience what that looks like. That's in a positive way.
Yep. And it's funny because remember Avery?
Mm-hmm.
He was upset thinking about telling Giddy, his son, about the step grandparents thing. I don't want my kid to think it's normal for families to split up. I'm like, well, son, guess what? That's the normal today.
Yeah, it is. It's not. I mean, there's a lot of people that struggle with that. More so institutions like churches that say, if we're promoting healthy step families, is that promoting that divorce is okay? I would say no.
It's dealing with the reality of the world.
Yeah, but it's like if you're going to help people where they are, then you've got to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway. And
with the grandkids, they don't know any different. They're born with Lolo there. They're born, when Jackson has kids, they're going to be born with Pawpaw David there.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't know any difference. Until you tell them, right?
Now I am interested in what is my dynamic with my step-grandkid going to be. Like, so you get to do all this first.
Mm-hmm.
Now
I'm awesome.
But this is where
I'm an awesome Lolo.
This is where the dynamic will change, because going back to what you said earlier, my kids were older. So we went through those things first, then you come up behind. So oftentimes you would look at things and you would, why are they getting their cereal fixed at 15 years old? And then when yours turned 15, you're like, oh, now I see that. So I'm wondering.
I'll be like, baby, what you want?
Yeah. So I'm wondering if I'm going to have some of the same things with grandkids. I don't know. It's hard to say. But
I don't think that you would have those reservations doing stuff with the grandkids for fear that Jackson's dad might do those things.
No,
I don't think it.
No, because now you're removed from that.
Right.
Now,
Lord, that means we're going to have birthday parties with. It never ends, y'all.
But there are going to be things to navigate, like just the differences of the fact that you got different grandparents and things like that. And obviously, if there's a birthday party, like I don't want my kids or my grandkids to have to feel odd at events where everybody happens to be together. And I think they feel some of that stress more than we do at this point. You and I can, like, not that we enjoy it, but I think it's like,
it is what it is. And I hate that phrase.
Yeah. Whatever. I think they're a little more on edge, but we've told our kids time and again, like, we don't expect you to have two different birthday parties for your kid. Mm-hmm. Have one. Like, if you want to do two, it's up to you, but have one. I mean, nobody's fussing and fighting with each other at these get-togethers.
It's just a little awkward.
It's just awkward. Any of the craziness has always been over text or phone. Like, in person, nobody ever does anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a face-to-face confrontation. It's always email. It's always email or phone calls or text messages. Like, face-to-face, everybody's like, I'm just going to keep it calm.
Well, I want to point out something else though, because I remember at Layla and Giddy's last birthday party, because two of the grandkids have one's birthday's the 10th and one's the 11th.
Right.
So we had two birthday parties 2 days in a row. And for Layla's birthday party, your ex, she was playing with that little bat and ball thing.
Right.
And Layla was struggling to pick up the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to help her. And your ex said, don't do that. She can do it herself. And it was like, woo. If anybody else would have said that to me, I probably wouldn't have thought anything about it. But since it was her, I'm thinking, excuse me? You telling me what to do? But it was funny because I automatically just stopped and I let Layla try to pick it up and then she couldn't. And so then I did it for her.
Right.
You know, it's like, I'm not going to sit here and watch this child struggle. Her little hand is this big and she's trying to pick up a ball this big. But it was funny how I felt about that because I remember thinking, again, my reaction was I did kind of what she said because that's what I would have done if anybody said it.
Right.
But then it was like,
then
it's like, oh, heck no, here, I'll put these balls up, girlfriend. You ain't ever got to lift a finger, you know. But it's funny because those things did come. And then I remember she said something at Giddy's party about she wanted the corner piece with icing. And I'm like, no. And I was joking. And everybody knew I was joking. Well, maybe everybody. And I said, no, those are for me and Jamie. And she said, well, there's 4 of them. I said, yeah, 2 for him, 2 for me. Because me and Jamie always fight over the corner pieces. I wasn't being a butthole. You know, it was just a joke. It was always fighting over the corner pieces of cake, right? I mean, that's all it was. And
it's an inside joke she wasn't
right.
aware of.
So I made sure that I told Ethan, please tell your mama I wasn't trying to be a butthole. You know, I was just, it's the icing joke.
Yeah, but that could have went off the rails.
Yeah, I could have hit her with a cake.
Well, not just that, but she could have took that the wrong way, and then she could have mouthed off at you, and then who knows where it would have went from there.
Yeah.
Which I think I know where it would have went because I know who you are today. Now, 15 years ago, probably would have went to blows. Today, you would have probably just turned around and walked off and went home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then fussed about it on the podcast.
Yeah, but I did. I wanted her to know I wasn't trying to be ugly. But honesty here, there was a part of me that's thinking, who you think you are rolling up in here saying what you gonna get?
Yeah.
You lost that decision when you decided to split, you know?
Well, next time we have a party, give her a corner piece.
I'm going to make her own cake, her own little miniature cake, and it's going to have 4 corners, and I'm going to say, you get all the corners.
Yeah. Oh, look at you.
I'm kidding. She wouldn't eat it. She'd think it was poison.
Yeah, you should, because that's just driving a...
you provoke me. But the good news is, y'all, we get to experience that again this year.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be at a family house. That makes a difference, too.
Yeah. All right. So for the topic that we started on, there's something else I want to say about it, and then we'll wrap it up. But we've talked a lot about how we feel about our stepkids, and we've mentioned how stepkids feel about us. The other piece of that is knowing how your significant other, as the step parent, has to navigate that. So I understand there's a difference to the way I feel about the step kid versus the bio kid, but do you understand that I have to do that so that when something happens, you're able to respond to that in a way that says, I understand there's a difference here. Mm-hmm. And I understand you're looking at them potentially somewhat differently and all that.
And it's not because you don't love the kids.
Right. And I believe a lot of the pressure that gets put on step parents is the fact that the other person in the relationship feels like you should love my kids the way I love them.
Right. And I have to say, we know this from over a decade of experience working with step families, that it's mostly the men that expect that from the women.
Yeah.
And women don't necessarily expect that from men. Just like women, most of the time, don't expect men to take over any of their parenting.
Mm-hmm. But
men expect it from the woman. I think it goes back to those natural mommy daddy roles in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely an area where if you're in a place where you can have that conversation, sit down with your significant other and say, let's just talk about these. Like, we're not necessarily having to make any decisions right now, but let's just talk about it. Let's talk about what you would expect or how you see things. And let's walk through that, especially if you're early in your relationship. Talk about those things.
Talk about the car insurance, how that's going to be handled.
Well, I can tell you right now, I can tell you that if it's far enough out, what you think you'll do is going to be different than what you actually do.
There was a lady that we love dearly that was in our academy for a long time and still is, that she, when her stepdaughter started to drive or was getting ready to get her license, she's like, oh, what do I do? So I have to find that message that I sent her of things that you need to discuss regarding this. And you need to remember that it needs to be the same for your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Because trust me, everything that Lori gave my kids a fit about, like the cereal being made at 15 years old, I made a mental note. When your kid turns 15, I'm going to see exactly.
You didn't even have to do it because it hit me one day and I'm standing there and I'm like, Jackson, what do you want? And I'm like, oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing exactly. Well, there's been a few times when I've probably said, well, when Jackson hits that age, we want to see what you do.
Yep.
Because, I got the privilege of having the first everything.
But not the first step grandbabies. So we're going to see. Hopefully we'll still be doing the podcast in however many years. Hopefully not too long. I'm getting old.
Yep. All right. Was I supposed to say no there?
It's nothing would have been good. The first time you could have not said anything.
That's like whenever I sit down, folks, you'll love this. So we sit down and record and I'm like, I like a hot mess. And Lori's like, me too. And I'm like, you're not supposed to agree with that.
I wasn't agreeing. I was just.
You was agreeing because you didn't say anything to contradict what I said. You just agreed and moved on.
Yeah, because every time you're like, oh, should I wear my glasses?
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm like, it don't matter. My face is two different colors with these lights.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Hope we imparted some wisdom to you on all these different topics we covered. And we'll be back next week. If there's anything that you have that you'd like to throw our way, topic-wise or question-wise, we can cover on this podcast, let us know. And leave some comments below if you're watching this on YouTube.
And subscribe.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're listening to the podcast, we do have a YouTube channel. And this is posted on YouTube where you can see our pretty smiling faces. All right. Until next time, remember, life is good.
Easy. Oh, I was going to say take it easy and don't be sleazy.
No, wrong outro.
All right. Do it again, David.
All right. So until next time, life is good.
When you nacho.